Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here today for today's meeting. This time I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the San Bernardino International Airport Authority, today being Wednesday, October the 26th, 2022, and it's approximately 3:06 p.m. I would ask our clerk to please do roll call.
Yes, certainly. Please state your names for the record. Members from the City of Colton.
Frank Navarro.
Thank you. Members from the City of Loma Linda.
Dusty Rigsby.
Thank you. Member from the County of San Bernardino, 3rd District.
Dawn Rao.
Thank you. Member from the City of Highland.
Penny Lobring.
Thank you. And please note Member Larry McCallum in the audience. And lastly, members from the City of San Bernardino.
John Valdivia.
Thank you very much. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. This time I would ask the commission and staff to adjourn to closed session. And we shall return shortly.
Yes. And for the record, Member Charette just joined us as well.
Hey, welcome, Mr. Charette.
I come in late, so I can be ready.
We'll reconvene our meeting. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the San Bernardino Airport Authority. Today is, again, October the 26th, 2022, and it's approximately 3:19. If I can ask our attorney to read us out of closed session, please.
As to the item in closed session, there was no reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you. Now we're going to call to order the open session, and if I could have Mr. Charette do our pledge, please.
Sir, please join me as we pledge our national flag. Ready, begin.
Thank you, Mr. Charette.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, any items to be added or deleted?
No items. Please note that there is a revised item number 13 in front of each of your seats.
Thank you. Conflict of interest disclosures. Anybody wishing to disclose? Hearing none, seeing none. Moving on to item G, informational items. Mr. Burrows, if you would please, sir.
All right, we got it.
Few of these. Woo, there we go. Sorry. First one up is Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Mike. We're very pleased to see that on October 19th, Breeze Airways announced their newest market to your airport. So as the existing markets to San Francisco and Provo have continued to increase in less than 3 months' time. Last week, Breeze announced the newest market to your airport, which is Las Vegas with a breeze through onto Hartford, Connecticut. Pretty exciting time. It'll be 2 days a week, so the new flights will occur starting February 16th, and they will travel on an A220, which is a brand new Airbus airplane, a little bit larger than the aircraft that's currently serving the San Francisco and Provo market. It's also a 3-cabin airplane, so there's nice, nicer, and now nicest class. Very similar to a first-class product, but I think it's nicer, or maybe it's nicest. So fares are starting at $32 to Las Vegas, and then you can stay on the plane and breeze through all the way through across the country to Hartford, Connecticut. And the new larger airplanes are designed just for that. So with 126 passengers, it's a little bit bigger, but it's designed to make that transcon flight. So we're very excited. We're excited to see the success, the early success of the San Francisco market lead into the newest success onto Las Vegas. And be happy to answer any questions you may have on that.
Comments or questions from commissioners?
Will they be fueling here for the transcontinental, or are they fueling in Vegas?
That's an excellent question. We never quite know with 100% certainty where they're going to fuel. They take a look at pricing, they take a look at how many passengers, what their load and weight is on the aircraft when they make that decision, as well as what the turnaround times are. So this one's a pretty tight turn. It arrives and turns around in just over 30 minutes. So depending on how they factor in what that flight looks like and fuel, It will be a greater uplift than the aircraft that are out there now, simply because it is larger, and to your point, it's going a lot further. So we do expect to see increased fuel sales with this flight. Wendy's very excited about that.
Mr. Charette?
So is their flight from, is it gonna be starting back east, come to Vegas and into here, and then turn around and go back the same way?
That's an excellent question. Yes, for clarity, so the airplane will start its day in Hartford, Connecticut. It will fly to Las Vegas, and then it will continue on to San Bernardino. So on the ground here for a short time,
That's why it can be on the ground so short.
turns around and does the exact same thing in the other direction. Ends its day in Hartford.
And you mentioned the success of the San Francisco flight, and have they determined that they are very happy or extremely happy? How successful is that, and do they anticipate it continuing? Is it really growing?
That is an excellent question. And yes, it has far exceeded their expectations for the market. It continues to grow, see additional pricing pressures, and it's doing very, very well. So everyone's happy in the organization, from all the many people at the company Mike and I continually talk with. And it's all the way up to the top. They're very, very pleased with your market.
Congratulations.
And then I'd be remiss if I didn't add, for Mr. Cousineau's sanity, because the aircraft has come in at the same time our other San Francisco flight is here, our overhead remains essentially fixed, which is really nice. We'll have to light up another jet bridge, which Jonathan's working on as we speak, but that's a good problem to have: more utilization, more people through the terminal space.
Thank you.
And then I'll hand over to Mr. Cousineau. Any updates? We had a nice discussion at the Finance and Budget Committee. Want to thank everybody for that. And you've got a couple of notes from that. Mark.
All right, here we go. Thank you, Mike. Budgetary performance, revenues and expenditures, and overall results are on track for the first 3 months of the fiscal year. We are bringing a number of items in item number 13 for budget adjustments that were also discussed. Most of those affiliated with either unexpected events or preparation and initiation for air passenger service at the airport. For the audit for this upcoming fiscal year, June 30th, 2022, Eide Bailey has begun the preliminary audit procedures and will start field work, both remote and on-site, the week of October 28th, which is next week. And the next one, we discussed some possible credit facilities that we might be looking at. No decision was made on those. And finally, SBIAA Inc., San Bernardino International Airport Inc., SBD Cares was discussed, and that is another item as well on this item right here. And SBD Cares is a 501c3 that was formed in 2012 with the overriding goals for education and scientific purposes, and more specific causes to relieve governmental burden for economic and to help with economic development, job retention, and growth. SBD Care was initially, as I said, formed in 2012. It operated in place of our FBO for a while time, or as our FBO, until June of 2015, in which case it went dormant and remained dormant until June 2019, at which point it was reactivated to go back into a more of a nonprofit mode. And with that, looking at scholarships right now, we are in good standing, both with the Secretary of State, California Attorney General, as well as our friends at the IRS. And we have just about a $35,000 cash balance as of September 30th. Mike, did you want to add anything to that?
No, and just to clarify, the role that the entity originally played with the fixed base operator was necessary when the airport had to take over operations of the facility from our prior operator, who did not stay in compliance. And the staffing company we needed to bring on to be able to facilitate that transition of employees was only able to contract with nonprofit entities or private entities. We had the entity in the vehicle, and decision by the commission at that time was go ahead and use a nonprofit because we didn't want people out of work over the Christmas holiday, and thankfully it did work. The reason we stopped that activity was Ms. Pritchett and team were able to build an in-house human resources team, and therefore we brought them all in-house, which was always the intent. Could we have done that over 3 weeks? In 2013, 2014, we would have, but the nonprofit came in handy. It was originally formed and kind of sat as a thought for days like today, where we've got commercial passenger, commercial cargo, and there is an opportunity to do functions out in the community without having to rely on airport resources. So we remain in compliance, so we're not getting into the fine line of revenue diversion out there. So for now, it just sits. It's a holding account more than likely, and would love to come back with some ideas on other activities it could do. But
Thank you, Mr. Burrows. Supervisor Rao.
What prompted its resurrection back in June of 19?
we finally got the entity back into compliance, and at that point in time, 18 to 19, it had helped nominally with some support for the air shows. We weren't sure if we could continue those. We had hoped, but then when that was not the case, we made sure that all the filings were done, and we just parked it for the time being. So until we did that conference to get some scholarships and some sponsorships in, we really hadn't done anything like that. But now it sits, and we'd like to come back with some, thoughts and ideas on maybe some other things we could do, because, it does have potential, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to note that I've asked Mr. Burrows to bring this item back in the agenda in December. So we'd like to set up a little ad hoc committee
Sure.
and get this thing going.
Yep.
There's a lot of potential for it.
And then, if no other questions on that, Ms. Pritchett, policies and procedures.
Good afternoon. Annually, staff reviews and presents for your consideration changes to our policies and procedures. Traditionally, this occurs in October. However, a number of the policies and laws that we follow from other regulatory agencies, the state and the federal government, take effect in January. So it is more of a feasible report to provide in January once those changes are made and actually implemented consistent with the day-to-day operations of the agency. So rather than present today, we are continuing this item until January.
And the intent, as we prepare the packet, would be to essentially change the, year-to-year timeline for that update to a standing, session in January. We don't see this trend stopping in the near future, so if that meets with your approval, we'll proceed accordingly.
Any questions or comments, please? All right, hearing none.
And then I had just one more quick one. Staff is anxiously and feverishly working on a new grant application, which a number of you all have lent your ear to, competing for some of the Department of Energy funds out there with the federal government, and particularly in the hydrogen space, as we do use some hydrogen here on the airport. San Manuel is working very closely with us on that. Once we get over the goal line, we'll certainly communicate out and keep you all apprised. So.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burrows. Thank you, staff, for your reports. Chair will entertain a motion to approve consent items 1 through 12.
I'll move it.
Moved by Commissioner Charette. Second by Commissioner Rigsby. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Charette and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro,
Yes.
Member Rigsby,
Yes.
Member Rao,
Yes.
Member Lilburn,
Yes.
Member Valdivia, and Member Charette.
Yes.
Thank you. The item is passed unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, commission action items. Item number 13. Consider and adopt the pros and budget adjustments for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. Mr. Cosino, please.
Thank you. This item is a number of budget adjustments that were identified both in our quarterly budget to finance report preparation, as well as other items that came before us. They are primarily, we're looking at a budgetary decrease in net income of $236,869, increased revenues, and estimated revenues of $293,354, and then we have both proposed and ratified expenditures at $530,223. These overall items are listed in the proposed adjustments table. In summary, they are for various expenses to initiate passenger air service, $165,475. A combination of insured losses and insurance recoveries for $330,005. Increased airport operating costs of $34,743, primarily for insurance, temporary labor, and increased water usage. If there are any questions, any items, or specific items, be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Cousino. Mayor Valdivia, please.
Thank you. Through the chair. Mr. Cousino, on your memo that you provided here on revised number 13 and page 4, the memo suggests item H9. Is this correct? Because it seems similar other than the taxiway shoulders and the runway joint seals, so that the amount of the net increase would be $215,394, which is similar to item number I. Is that just a typo, or are these the same exact
They're
amounts?
two separate projects, FAA-funded projects, and then that the additional expense is actually an increase for project management costs by a FAA-required independent project manager or project oversight. And because it's two separate projects, we basically split those into two, evenly 50% for either one of the projects.
So that's why they're 215.
That's why it's yep.
All right. And then, Mr. Burrows, the 90% FAA reimbursable, so these are, we can expect to book these revenues?
Yeah, they run very quickly comparatively to some agencies. Average is around 45 days in turnaround, and they wire the funds. FAA is really good with that.
Got it.
So the float is shorter than most federal grants. That's why we like FAA.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mayor Valdivia to
Second.
approve, and a second by Councilmember Rigsby to approve and adopt the proposed budget adjustments for fiscal year 2022-23. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 14. This is to ratify expenditures totaling $117,704.20 for report and transport cost associated with insurable loss number CN SBIAA 220328. And this one is Catherine Pritchard.
Good afternoon again. You may recall in last month's meeting, this loss was reported to the Commission with a promise to follow up with the financial impact. But as a reminder, in March of this past year, an insurance loss occurred at the FBO fuel farm when a driver of a 10K Skymark refueler inadvertently accelerated and made impact with the bollards and the cement islands surrounding the fuel farm. The fuel farm itself was not damaged. However, the 10K fueling truck sustained significant damages to the body, the main tank, the pumps, the meters, various components of the safety control system. The San Bernardino Airport leases this 10K truck from Skymark LLC, which designs, engineers, and manufactures this highly specialized truck. As such, decisions about the repairs were discussed with staff from Skymark, the FBO, and airport administration regarding the best path forward to make these repairs efficiently. After consideration of all options, it was decided that it was in the best interest of the agency to ship the truck back to Ohio for the necessary repairs. The total cost for the repairs, less the amount related to damages determined to be pre-existing, was $117,304. The total cost for shipping to and from Ohio is $55,400, and after the deductible, the total loss is $165,252. The insurance carrier for this event has reimbursed in full for all of the repairs. However, at this time, there are ongoing discussions regarding transportation coverage. Skymark and Sabia determined the original manufacturer was the only qualified facility to make the repairs, the insurance carriers arguing that a qualified tanker in Fontana would have been adequate. As such, of the $55,000 in shipping, the insurance provider has only reimbursed us $7,000. That would be a net loss of $48,400 to the agency. I did have an opportunity to discuss this further with Scott Huber today, and we are going to continue our negotiations with the insurance company to recover the rest of those losses. And once we do receive those, or when we have a final response, we'll report that back to the commission. However, at this time, staff does ask the commission to ratify the emergency expenditure in the amount of $172,704 and authorize the CEO to execute related documents to close out this claim. It's
Thank you, Ms. Pritchett.
confusing, but
Comments?
I'm happy to answer questions.
Move the item.
Okay. Mayor Valdez.
Thank you. Through the chair, Mr. Burrows, was the damage more to the vehicle, the truck, or was there some type of equipment or tanks that were also damaged? And what damage were enumerated? Because the presentation didn't include the damage to our property.
Yeah, so thankfully, the damage to the property was nominal. You know, the bollards did the protective role they're supposed to do with the
It did what it
concrete
was intended to
curbs.
do, correct.
However, with a refueler, you have multiple systems, pumps, a lot of, pressurized valves and hoses, and the fact that this is a leased truck, Ms. Pritchett and team had to integrate everything with the actual manufacturer because that is technically the owner of the truck. So
that's my follow-up question.
Kat, you have more of a breakdown on that than I do.
Well,
but-
before we go there, Mr. Burrows, more a question for Mr. Huber. On the leasing agreement that we signed with the leasing company on the lease of the truck, does it shift responsibility to the agency, or is there somehow, did you review the contract on the agreement and the repairs?
I did, and so the agency is responsible for the repairs. There's a dual role. The owner of the truck can dictate where those repairs need to happen. The difference in this amount, the difference between the reimbursed amount and the amount of the repairs.
Meaning the 7,000, the 48,000, or the 55?
Yeah, the shipping costs were disallowed by our insurance adjuster, and I'm going to just put it bluntly, in just my opinion. The insurance adjuster literally said, walking onto the airport property, "Oh, gee, I've never done one before on an airport," right? So there's not really a good knowledge about airport and the mechanics inside the fence, so to speak. The other issue is that the adjuster said, well, gosh, it could have been taken care of right here in Fontana. The place where they identified in Fontana had never fixed a fuel truck before. So, the company that owns the truck said they're not qualified to do it. They've never done one before. And so they insisted on having it done by a different qualified location, as is their prerogative under the contract. So we are going to be pushing back on the insurance company to say, look, your adjuster A doesn't know what they're talking about from their own admission walking onto the airport, and number two, all of the item, we'll list all of the items that are specialized on this truck that the Fontana company just doesn't have familiarity with, which is why they were disqualified.
Okay, and my final two questions, Mr. Burrows. In the interim, since this truck was shipped back, did it compromise this fuel sale or the integrity of our operations?
Thankfully, no, because this commission, you did authorize the acquisition of 2 additional trucks, 2 15,000 gallons, that actually did arrive, thankfully, in time to be able to backfill the utilization. So it did take quite a bit to get the truck back, but to also address your earlier question further, the truck is a truck, but it's also a system of systems, and that system has to be certified, otherwise we cannot fuel a plane. So without Skymark saying it is fit for duty, we would have been in a really, really bad spot. We'd have a truck we couldn't touch, so.
What additional precautionary measures to the employee have been made so that this doesn't happen again?
Well, on that, Ms. Pritchett and Ms. Bechtel and the team have instituted an additional driver training course. They brought the manufacturers of the trucks into those protocols further. All of our fuelers are nationally certified, but the driving course, we actually did engage the manufacturers directly, so the people that build the trucks teach the folks the space, the pressure points, so to speak. So, Kat, again, thank you for stepping up on that.
Well, I appreciate the thoughtful consideration. Thank you for staff monitoring and watching. So I'll second, I don't know if there's a second, but there's been a move for approval, so I'll second.
Second, okay.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rigsby and a second by Mayor Valdivia to ratify the expenditures on item number 14. Madam Clerk?
Yes, thank you. We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Valdivia. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia? And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 15. This is also to ratify expenditures totaling $164,752.43 for emergency sewer cleanout and excavation and repair costs associated with insurable loss. This one, Catherine Pritchett, please, again.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is far less complex, but thanks to our thorough construction team, came with very beautiful full-color pictures of the loss. As reported in September, the SBIAA was notified of a plumbing issue on the west side of Hangar 763. Emergency measures were put into place with 2 contractors being called on site. Mr. Reuter, who provided emergency plumbing and excavation services totaling $21,435, and Bogue Engineering, who provided repairs to the damaged sewer system totaling $143,316. The total cost of repairs was $164,752, with a final recovery deductible minus the deductible from the insurance carrier of $139,752. The deductible for this property loss is $25,000, so that's the variance. At this time, SBIAA asked the Commission to ratify this emergency expenditure in the amount of $164,752, and again authorize the CEO to execute related documents to close out this claim. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mayor Valdivia, second by Supervisor Rao.
Yeah.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Rao. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 16. This is to approve amendment number 2 to the professional services agreement with Wilson and Company.
Mr. Chair, move it.
Okay. Mayor Valdivia moves to approve.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Rigsby. Comments, questions, public comment?
No public comments.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your vote for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 17. This is to approve the purchase of one 2022 Ford Super Duty F-350 vehicle to be used as an airport fleet support vehicle. Present on this is Jonathan Galvan. Mr. Galvan, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Airport Maintenance Fleet Department plays a critical role in supporting all airport vehicles for the agency, including departments of admin, operations, maintenance, FBO, including fuel trucks, FBO ground service equipment for the support of aircraft, as well as aircraft recovery support for any incidents on the runway. Currently, the Fleet Department utilizes a 2006 Chevy Silverado that has a little over 93,000 miles on it and has reached its end of useful life. The purchase of this utility truck would ensure Fleet has a support vehicle to meet the requirements of the airfield, including the ability to for safe and efficient recovery of larger aircraft off the runway after an incident to keep the runway open and back to normal operations. Staff solicited bids from 3 dealers in the area for this utility truck that would support the needs of the Fleet Department, as well as the efficient support of the airfield. Cangroti Ford in Redlands is the lowest apparent bidder in the amount of $81,085.14. Staff requests the commission approve the authorization of the purchase of the Ford utility truck in this amount and authorize the CEO to authorize all associated documents. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Questions? Mr. Rigby?
The support information, background information says we need a 3/4 ton truck, and this is a 1-ton truck. An F-250 is a 3/4 ton.
I believe that is a typo.
Which part?
The 3/4.
Okay.
Does that answer your, I'm sorry, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that takes care of the discrepancy. Assuming we need a 1-ton truck, I move with the item.
Okay. Question.
Mr. Charette?
Yeah, what type of truck are we replacing? Is it just a pickup,
It's a 150.
and it's only got
Pickup.
96,000 miles on it? That's
Correct.
very valuable these days, you know.
But it says it's
I don't know what
totaled.
we're doing with it, but a regular pickup with, that's relatively low mileage for a pickup truck, and they're very, very valuable. At least they have been. I don't know what they are today, so just make a comment that I don't know if we're gonna trade it in, sell it, or what.
The plan is to retain it. It's, the miles are, under 100,000, but they're hard miles. The challenge for operations is this particular vehicle, when we queried, obviously, prior to posting this, there's nothing that's four-wheel drive, and if you have an incident on the airfield,
Is it a four-wheel drive?
yeah, that's the big difference.
Yeah.
in this. So-
Thank you.
So you'll see me driving a truck
Gas hauler.
next week.
Well, my truck has 150,000 miles.
Thankfully, it stays on the airport, so, it's just for use on campus.
So we can't do it with a Rivian?
You'll see it in a parade soon, yeah.
It's about the same price.
So anyway, Mr. Charette, if you refer to the background information, I just, was reminded of it. It's, according to our staff, it's pretty much total condition because of the hard use and the incidents on it, so. Okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Rigsby and a second by Mayor Valdivia to approve the purchase of the 2022 Ford Super Duty 350. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. I'd just like to acknowledge that Dr. G is in the audience now.
Okay, one more thing, public comment.
And no public comments.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Valdivia. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 18, that would be to approve the form of a service agreement with the City of San Bernardino and authorize annual funding in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for the provision of law enforcement services and terminate the current 2018 service agreement. Presenter is Ms. Pritchett again.
Good afternoon. The San Bernardino International Airport currently receives law enforcement services from the San Bernardino Police Department through 2 active agreements. First being a long-standing, probably 20-year agreement referred to as the Master Services Agreement with the City of San Bernardino, which currently calls for general law enforcement services from the police department to the airport as a whole. In addition, through that agreement, the agency does reimburse the City of San Bernardino 25% of a captain's salary, and that captain serves as a direct liaison to the airport in the event that we need immediate assistance. The second agreement, as you may recall, was approved in April of this past year. It was a temporary agreement expiring in November, which provides specific law enforcement services as required by the TSA in support of commercial passenger service. As again, this agreement does expire in November. Approval of this item today will do 2 things. It will terminate the Master Services Agreement and transfer those terms directly to a long-term agreement with the City of San Bernardino, which is 3 years, to continue the provision of those dedicated services to both, in general, to the airport itself, as well as specific services to the TSA in support of commercial passenger service. So it combines these two agreements into one and extends the term for 3 years. The total financial impact for this agreement has been considered in the 2022-2023 SBIAA budget, and will be presented to the City Council for their review and approval the November 2nd San Bernardino City Council meeting. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Question?
Yes.
Thank you, through the chair. Mr. Burrows, have you consulted with my city manager on this?
I have not. Ms. Pritchett's been dealing directly with legal counsel and PD. I'm not sure, Kat, have we talked to Rob? We did previously.
Yes, I've been in regular conversations with both the city manager and the deputy city manager, as well as command staff at the police department.
And what about our police chief? Is he consenting and agreeing to this?
Correct, yes.
Move for approval.
And then I would just add, as I mentioned earlier, with the new Las Vegas service, because both aircraft are here at the same time, thankfully, we're not having to, pull additional officers. The crew that's currently servicing the flight is doing a great job, and that would be that same team that's already familiar with the operation, so.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Valdivia and a second by Councilmember Rigsby. Any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
Okay. Hearing none, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your name for the record, or your vote for the record, excuse me. Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Rigsby.
Yes.
Member Rao.
Yes.
Member Lilburn.
Yes.
Member Valdivia.
Yes.
And Member Schredt.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passed unanimously.
Moving on to item number 19, that's the approve amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Avitrix Communications LLC in the amount not to exceed $200,000 for marketing and outreach initiative supporting commercial passenger services for SBD.
Move it.
A motion by Mayor Valdivia. Second by Councilmember Charette. Public comment, please.
No public comments.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do the roll call vote, please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Schredt. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Rigsby.
Yes.
Member Rao.
Yes.
Member Lilburn.
Yes.
Member Valdivia.
Yes.
And Member Schredt.
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 20, this is to consider and discuss SPD Good Neighbor Program quarterly report. And this is Mr. Gibbs, your turn.
Thank you, Mayor. Each quarter, we bring this before the commission to report on the activities that we get some feedback offered from the community about increasing activity at the airport. And here to walk us through this quarterly report is once again Miss Rosemary Barnes. Rosemary, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. Mayor Navarro, Commissioners, Mike and Mark. Really glad to be back with you all to discuss activities for the Good Neighbor Program Report for the third quarter in 2022. And I just want to point out, I did fly in on the nonstop flight from SFO today, and just as promised, easy breezy and very nice. So congrats again on this amazing service. It was beautiful, beautiful day to fly. Slide 4, please, Jennifer. Okay, so notable news for the third quarter. You may recall the last 2 weeks in August on into Labor Day weekend, we had record-setting heat in the region once again, and which then contributed to fires in the region. So through the Good Neighbor program, we did elevate awareness of the activation of the San Bernardino the air tanker base. We had 4 posts throughout that week or so, and one included a video of 10 Tanker just to educate the community about what that aircraft does. Obviously, it's a pretty massive size, so it does get some recognition in the public given its size. So just wanted to educate them what that aircraft does to support the fire suppression on the ground. We continue to publish the Good Neighbor News, the summer newsletter, and we're very pleased that we saw an 8% increase in subscribers compared to the previous quarter. We continue to promote the Good Neighbor Program microsite, promoting the second quarter report, where the community members can find the stats from that quarter, as well as how they can share their feedback, ask questions, and contact the airport about any comments about the airport and airport operation. And we continue to share information with the public about airline and air cargo information. Obviously, there's an increase in jet activity. We want to make sure our community knows what's happening, what these increases are all about, and ultimately how it's serving them here in the region. Slide 8, please. Just going to quickly go through each month. For the first month of the quarter, July, we had 14 noise comments filed by 9 households. Slide 9. Slide 9. And you'll see here just that activity in the various cities with Highland, 3 households in Highland having the most number of comments in July with 6. Slide 11, please. In August, we had 17 noise comments filed by 9 households, and notably in August, remember, we had Breeze that began service August 4th, and as I said, we had that fire tanker activation in August too. So interesting that, considering all that activity, we were pleasantly surprised with the relatively low number of comments for that month. If you go to slide 12, please. You'll see that activity for August, 3 households in Highland. They offered the most comments with 9 for August. In September, which is the next one, slide 14, please. In September, we had 16 noise comments filed by 10 households. Slide 15. And you see in September, we had 4 households in Redlands that offered 10 comments for that month. Let's go to slide 17, please. So for the third quarter, year over year, same time last year, we did have a growth in aircraft operations, again, increased jet activities, and then, of course, through the program, our ongoing outreach to the community, to our neighbors, encouraging their feedback, educating them about the program, and this is their outlet to share their comments, their questions. Slide 18, please. So for the quarter, we had a total of 23 distinct households filing 47 noise comments for the quarter. And again, you see the breakdown in the table of where that activity was. Okay, so if you go to slide 18, please. We are now looking at the top 5 commenters for the quarter. One thing we did a little differently in this report, just to reduce any confusion, we added a letter with the household ID, just so you don't get those household IDs mixed up with the noise comments. So, for example, for the first one, G183, G is the first letter of the last name of the community member in Highland for that first rank. So G183 is specific to one household there in Highland. Just want to make sure you're aware of that. Slide 20, please. Here you see the number of comments year over year. We had, let's see here, we had an increase of 23 comments for year over year, as well as an increase in 9 households for the year. Slide 21. And as we've seen in previous reports, most people are concerned about an airplane's proximity to their home. Slide 22. And here you see what those comments look like. On the left, you see that the majority of comments we received for the quarter were about jet activity, followed then by unknown. Some people just don't know the type of aircraft, but they do want to share their concern. The primary concern we received in this quarter is of aircraft flying over neighbors' homes. And as you see on the right, we had more than 2/3 of the commenters share their comments through the online form. Okay, let's go to slide 23. Slide 23, you'll see just these 2 tables are the same information you saw on the pie charts. And on the right, the pie chart does show the breakout of how commenters responded about whether or not they wanted to the airport to respond to their questions, to their comments. Let's go to slide 24. Again, in past reports, we see that most comments come from within 5 to 10 miles of the airport. Slide 25. And here you see the heat map. You see the majority and the clusters of where the most comments are received for the quarter. Okay, and finally, slide 26. So on the left, the top, you see quarter over quarter. Noise comments did decrease. The number of households filing did decrease. Very interesting, given within this quarter, we had Breeze start. We had an activation of the air tanker base. We thought that was very interesting. And then on the right, year over year, noise comments did increase, as well as the number of households filing did increase. And we expect that this, we're attributing this to, again, the continued increase in jet aircraft operations, the airport's continued success, growth in concerns filed by more households, and then really community members just looking for more information. They're noticing aircraft, they're noticing more information about the airport in the news. They want to learn more, so they're reaching out to us, and they're finding the airport and the Good Neighbor program, this outlet. And ultimately, we continue to share this program. It's an outlet for our neighbors. We continue to use it to educate our pilots about neighborhood noise sensitivity and just letting them know what's happening here, all the good news, what San Bernardino International Airport is doing to serve their community and themselves. Thank you, appreciate your time, and Mark and I can answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Questions? See none, I just want to say thank you.
Wonderful.
And I'm glad to see that Colton is third. I've been first for a year. So your people are out of control now. No,
Thank you.
I think that it's just that people are getting acclimated to seeing and hearing the planes flying in and out of the airport. And as we move forward, you know, adding more flights to it, I think it's just going to take time.
I think
So I appreciate all your work, your nice reports and everything, and your outreach is great. So let's, you know, stay with it.
Thank you, and I also want to acknowledge Amber and all her work, and of course, she's traveling and looking to potentially pick up another award for the launch of air service here at the airport. So we'll see what she comes back with at one of the industry conferences. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Item 21, review status action plan, Mr. Burrows.
Okay, so I'll try to make this quick because we've covered most of this. Just one other footnote for the month of October. We've been doing some prep work on international trade, not just with our Dutch logistics partners. There's been some staff changes over there. They are still planning on coming out for World Trade Month in May, and we hope that continues. Some exciting new opportunities there, particularly in the cargo space. And then several discussions this month on how we might enhance our U.S. Customs capabilities. Obviously, we have full-time user fee customs here at the airport, and they're doing great work out there. But obviously, demand for more international flights is out there, and we're working very closely with the team at Customs and our adjacent airports on some options for that. So next month, hope to have a few recommendations and seek some guidance from you all, because some of this may transcend over in the legislative arena, depending on what the solution of choice might be. So with that, concludes our report.
Thank you. No other comments from the commissioners? Okay, there being no other business to attend to, this meeting is now adjourned.